We were just talking about Grace a couple of moments ago. Our conversation is brought to you by Marcus and Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Doesn't Grace sound excited this morning? Grace, you sound like you're happy to be here.
I am joyfully here with you today.
Well, that's a good thing. Unfortunately, not everybody is living that joyful life that we all would aspire to. And particularly we're concerned about teens. This new study that we were talking about a couple of moments ago from Crisis Text Line and Common Good Labs paints a pretty downer of a picture for us. Doesn't have to be that way, but it's going to take some work to get this turnaround, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. So many students are struggling in silence these days, and how many students are there that sit isolated behind their screens, wondering why they have a purpose, wondering why they wake up. But when we're so infatuated with our phones and the screens and being multi-distracted, it's so easy to get caught up in our own world and in our own minds. And then you find this highlight reel on social media, and you think if you're any way different from that, something's wrong with you. And there's this stigma to be able to speak different that, hey, it's okay to not be okay. But 50% of all mental illness begins by the age of 14. So it is an urgent time that resources are needed for our students. But more than anything, we need to get back to the kitchen table. It all starts at home. It all starts with the family members getting around the kitchen table, screens down, and having real conversations, checking in on each other, having those conversations that, hey, maybe I'm not okay, or even noticing that maybe my student is a little bit off right now and having those real conversations. It starts there.
Yeah, and that's a really key thing to understand, because we might look to our communities and we might look to government or some organization to actually provide the resources and the funding. It would be great if more stepped up and if more were available to us. But it really does start right there in the family home, and the resource that you need is your time applied to your teen.
Right. That's exactly right. This is something I talk about in my new book, It's Okay, Finding Peace in Unexpected Places. It's this concept of the corner of your life. We all have the ability and the responsibility to notice those in the corners of our own lives. We all live a different course of action in our day-to-day, but those that are in our midst, that are constantly in the corners, that are constantly on the outskirts, maybe you're there for the sole reason to lean into that person, to ask how are you, to say hello. That can make a huge difference, but unfortunately legislation cannot fix the root of the problem, and it really does start with our own family members, our own circles, whether that be your friend group or your family, whatever that is. We have that ability and responsibility to check in on our strong friends, to check in on our tough friends, our quiet friends, our parents, whoever it may be. One person, one policy can't change it all, but those in our midst can notice the changes and remind you that you are a safe place and it's okay to not be okay.
You know, it's great that you phrase it the way that you do, the person in the corner, because we don't want to look there. We want to be out in the center of the room and dealing with the people that are there in the center of the room with us. But there are people that are out there along the edges of our acquaintance list, and maybe we need to find ways to draw them in and find out that they have great things to offer, and we do to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone wakes up with a purpose. There is a reason to your story. And my favorite quote that's driven the reason I wrote my book, my podcast, why I'm an advocate for this, is by Morgan Harper Nichols, and it's tell the story of the mountain you've climbed. It could become a page in someone else's survival guide. And how little do we realize that one part of our story could be the survival guide that someone else needs in their story now. All we have to do is share it. So talk to those in the corners of your life, even those that are in the center of the room that maybe are disguised with a smile, that are actually struggling, just having those real conversations and destigmatizing the conversation of, are you really doing okay? Like, I care about you, I see you, and I want to know you're okay.
Yeah. We wear a lot of masks around in life, don't we, Grace?
We sure do. We sure do. But you know what? If one person could be the safe space for another person, and we just had that ripple effect, imagine how different things would be. And social media and our screens aren't doing us any favors, but I know the answer to it all is Jesus Christ. And if people can lean into faith and have real conversations with the people in the corner of their worlds, I think things would look a lot different.
Hey, Grace, you mentioned your book. What led you to write it?
You know, my faith was the driving force, and second to that was that quote of helping people find a survival guide. I've, of course, just like anyone, walked through the journey of life, and there's been a lot of high highs, but a lot of low lows. And this is really written for those that might be in the thick of it, and where things are heavy and hard, and they find themselves with their knees on rock bottom, and they don't exactly know where to turn from there. I write with that angle in mind, to meet those that are at rock bottom, to realize that there is another day, there is hope, there is a light in it all, and that we can find peace in the most unexpected places when we lean into the hard and sit there long enough to find the joy in the midst of it all. It's learning to condition our hearts to find the Lord everywhere, even in the situations that we never thought possible. So my heart is that it would meet people exactly where they're at, whether it's at their lowest lows or maybe life's just fine. This is a book that has an unfiltered reality of the hope of Jesus infused in it, talking about and speaking to those in the thick of it right now.
That's beautiful. All right, Grace, where are we going to get our hands on the book, and what's the name of the podcast?
Yes, the book is available on Amazon. It's called It's Okay, Finding Peace in Unexpected Places. If you type in It's Okay Grace, it usually comes up, so you don't have to navigate my last name. And then the podcast is called The Catch. And then Khach. There's the same thing. We unpack some really incredible stories from those who went through the Iranian hostage crisis, to Holocaust survivors, to young girls who lost their mom at an early age. We just unpack it all from a very raw standpoint. So would be happy to engage anyone in either of those realms. But yes, the book is available on Amazon. It's Okay, Finding Peace in Unexpected Places.
Beautiful. She is Grace Khachaturian joining us here this morning. Looking forward to catching up on the podcast. And if you want to get that book, head out to Amazon. Hey, Grace, thanks. Have a wonderful day today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
There it is, the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. We're about, a minute and a half away from the top of the hour. Fox News then, and then the Brian Kilmeade Show.